you already know, but your knowledge is enhanced because something's always different in HR. It's always
Yeah.
changing. New legislation is always rolling out, and we constantly have to make sure that we're staying abreast of all this new information. I mean, the pandemic, for instance, was one of those things where you're starting from scratch, and thank God for HR associations and networks
So
that
you
I've
guys
been
can
able
lean on
to.
each other and
Absolutely.
Sherry, we know that um, Dr. Lee is just fantastic. And you talked about there are all these people, all of these Black people who felt like they were the only Black person maybe in, in manager in a management role or definitely in HR, right?
Hmm.
And so it gave you guys a safe space to kind of talk and just say, what are you, are you experiencing this and how are you handling this? But aside from Dr. Meadows, like talk about the importance of just like having mentors in your life as as you sort of travel down these new paths.
It is so critical. It is so critical to have mentors in your life. 9 times out of 10, your mentor has walked in the steps that you're walking in. And even from a level of maturity, just have, insight on things that you don't have insight on. And be having those relationships, you learn, you grow, you learn how to handle things, you learn, just you, and even in watching them, watching them because their mine are all successful. So just watching them and how they engage with people and how they present information and how they handle situations and coaching you on how to do that. I mean, it's an opportunity for professional development, for your personal growth. And out of that is relationship as well.
Yeah.
And what people should really be cautious of, because this happens quite often with mentoring relationships, the mentee should never go into a mentoring relationship one-sided.
Mm,
So with having a desire to have a mentor, you also have to have a desire to give something back.
mm,
Always be someone who's not taking all the time, because they're where they are in their position, and other people are like reaching out to them and they can get exhausted.
sure.
So, think about ways that you can be supportive of them and help them, and not, be someone who's always the one needing help. And there are ways to do it. I mean, you may think, well, what would I have to offer them? I need them to help me. But you do have something to offer, whether you realize it or not, if you pay attention. And I can't really, point out what that could be. Uh,
No, you got to give me an example.
I mean, they could just need a listening ear, right?
Hmm.
Or maybe they need your perspective because they're dealing with an employee who may be at the same role in the same role that you're in, or maybe they know of a situation that you tell them about that you handled quite well, and maybe they just want to get a different perspective, maybe a perspective from a younger person because this person's younger. And we typically don't talk about age and youth and all of that when you're talking HR, because we are an unbiased people, but at the same time we do recognize that people communicate differently, they respond differently depending on what generation they fall in,
It's
right?
part of the diversity piece, right?
Absolutely. So you have to learn how to communicate
Yeah.
with individuals, no matter
Yeah.
where they are on the spectrum. So you can always offer something,
Yeah.
and just make yourself available. And sometimes it's not even asking, it's just seeing a need and say, hey, I noticed this. Do you mind, can I help you with this? Or do you mind this? Or
Yeah.
maybe it's a thank you note,
Sure.
maybe it's a gift showing your appreciation,
Yeah.
but there is something that you can do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, stay connected with them. Don't always call them when you need something. Call them because you're just saying hello
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
checking on them.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. There's a book that I've mentioned probably more than any other book so far on my podcast. It's called Relational Intelligence.
Hmm.
It's written by Dr. Darius Daniels, and he talks about these different roles that people have in your life, right? And how we sometimes confuse associates with friends, and but he talks about these advisors, right? These mentors, and how the mentors or the advisors, as he calls it, they provide a sort of covering because they've experienced many times the things that you are looking to achieve, right? So they can kind of tell you about those pitfalls, and and it's nice to know if you went to, if you get to that McDonald's, you went too far, right? If you're trying to get some direction somewhere, watch
Right.
out for that speed trap. You start going down that hill,
Hmm.
you better ride that brake because you are just going down a hill. You're gonna go past the speed limit, and then the police. You just have these things to look out for, and someone who's already been in that role or has already experienced that can provide some of that covering for you. Um, so you've also been a mentor to people, right?
I
Talk about maybe that's the way you give back, right? Is to sort of pay it forward.
Absolutely. And I have been a mentor to other people. It's generally people who are looking to get into HR, who need some guidance, or it's they're in HR, but, they need some guidance with, some of the same things that I needed guidance with. How do I handle this situation? This is where I want to end up. How do I career path that way? Should I get my master's degree or should I get my certification? Which one? They just need people need guidance. If
Yeah,
I need guidance, somebody else is going to need it too. So you're right. I mean, that is part of it too, just giving back. And we become experts in our field, and it's not for us to hone to not to the word is not hone that I'm looking for, but it's not for us to just keep under our own wing.
right.
We have to spread the knowledge. Somebody shared it with us
That's right.
to help groom us. So we have to do the same thing, and not be threatened by that. I've seen
Yeah,
instances where, you know, younger people come into the institution, oh, people get threatened because they have ideas that you don't have, or,
yeah,
they're bright and fresh and you're tired and maybe watching the clock, right? And concerned about your position. And it's like, no, do your job. And part of your job is to help in helping groom them because it's going to benefit you. What they don't know may end up on your seat and you're going to have to do the work. Then you're going to say, oh, this person's lazy, and I've heard that. It's
yeah,
not that they're lazy, you're not sharing your knowledge.
yeah.
And what good is it if you have all the knowledge and you're not sharing it? And if they're showing an interest and they want to learn, sow into them, plant a seed so
That's
that
right.
they can grow and flourish and have a great career, just like you've, come to achieve.